Hi, Anna. Welcome to BackStage Greenroom. Everybody, I'm talking to Anna Fraser today about her upcoming Backstage show, which is called IMPOSTO. It's on the 14th of June at 7:30 at Woodburn Collectives, not Woodburn Collectives, Woodburn Creatives. And I really wanted to have a chat with you today about your show, Anna.
Good morning, Lamorna. I am sending greetings from a very sunny but cold Canberra, and it is truly beautiful outside with the most magnificent colours surrounding me. I won't sort of glare you with all the bright sunlight. However, it sort of reminds me of the connections that I have with this particular program, Imposto. The title might seem slightly obscure, like an
Yeah, what does
imposter.
it mean? What
But
does
in
it
fact,
mean?
Imposto is actually a musical term that I came across last year. It's specifically to do with a vocal placement, and that's to do with the actual sort of internal position of vowels inside our mouth. So actually finding exactly where the perfect sweet spot is with the position of the tongue and the soft palate and the shape of the lips that you actually get the most resonant sound. It's called imposto. And
Oh,
so then, in a abstract way, I sort of adopted this term and thought, okay, you could think of yourself as being placed in a time or space, and say, today I am in Canberra and placed in time and space in a very beautiful friend's house, and we're doing a concert this afternoon, which involves a very resonant instrument, a Baroque Italian harp with Hannah Lane. I'm doing this beautiful program, but it reminds me that each moment that we make music, we have new opportunities to be spontaneous in the way that we actually sort of engage in that experience, and that we can actually resonate and really vibrate our inner sense. And so this program is a long time in the coming. It's a long time in the making, and it was inspired not by sound, but in fact a visual guide of sorts. This particular book called The Wanderer by Peter van den Ende, a Dutch graphic artist who writes no words in his books, but only images, and they're very evocative images, and they're only in black and white. But it takes the viewer, the reader of sorts, on this journey through fantastic lands, past very familiar places and environments, but then sort of delves into sort of more mysterious realms. And I suppose with our music making, often we understand the parameters. And what's interesting is that in combination, we start to kind of really resonate more abstract or more experimental sounds. And so for me, this backstage opportunity is very much about exploring something that I haven't explored before. And that has been triggered by some recent research study that I've been doing, particularly in regards to bel canto practices and historical performance practices. So really understanding exactly what those early singers were doing. And that's kind of different from what we do as modern classical singers, not so different from what we do as contemporary singers sometimes. There's lots of amazing effects that we use. So I've kind of explored this idea of how can we represent our own sort of expressive, virtuosic tendencies and abilities to create some new vocal works, both a cappella and also in combination with some very interesting instruments. And the instruments involved are two historical instruments played by very contemporary women, and the baritone, which is probably the earlier of the instruments from the classical period, is a bit of a hybrid instrument. It's the only one of its kind in Australia, and it has been specially commissioned for Laura Vaughan, who is a Melbourne-based gamba player and lirone player. But this instrument is truly exquisite and very unique because it has sympathetic strings that can be plucked behind the neck. So it can be played like a gamba, played like a lirone, can play chords, it can play melody, but then it has metallic strings that also resonate in addition to all these lyrical and chordal lines. So fascinating. So we've got two pieces actually, that will feature Laura's baritone, and then she has actually written a solo work for herself as well. Similarly, we have another delightful inclusion of the Japanese koto and the Japanese bass koto, played by Satsuki Oramura. And Satsuki has always astounded me, as Laura has as well, with their sense of virtuosity and just the emotion and the expressive kind of intent behind their playing. And I wanted to give them both the opportunity to be able to represent what is, I suppose, the crux or the essence of their own playing, and get them to write a piece for themselves. Satsuki has written two beautiful works for voice, which I will sing based on some very old Japanese poetry. And it will also feature another work by her koto teacher, and that's a much more significant work. And then to bind everything together, we have the darling Jane Sheldon. Now, Jane and been working together for over 25 years, and we artistically and expressively see eye to eye. We are very responsive in that sort of musical circumstance, and I crave more of, working with Jane, but she is a very busy lady and in need all over the world. So I send her my love as she's in New York at the moment, finishing up her piece for us. And this work is going to be kind of the centerpiece. It will feature both baritone and koto and our two voices. And it will be a representation of one of the more I suppose, abstract images, I would say, the most spatial image in the book, featuring the Aurora Borealis. And what's delightful is that I think many Australians had the pleasure of seeing that last weekend. I am very, very sad, being based in Sydney and the horrible storms that we had. There was not a glimpse of that. I'm still chasing the Aurora. Hopefully there is some visual or oral representation of that in our IMPOSTO program on Friday, the 14th of June at 7:30.
And then you've got also this new work by Audrey Ormella.
That's right. So we have a new as well. And this will also feature Laura with her baritone. We have been doing some wonderful workshops with the Sydney Conservatorium of Music composition students, facilitated by Paul Stanhope.
Yep.
And Audrey chose a particular image which represented a monolith of ice. And ice is white. So how do you represent that in sound and colour?
Right.
So exploring how the resonance of the baritone can be integrated with voices, and the voices are very much accompanying figures, but also she's using the resonance of tuning forks and amplified boxes. So there's going to be this sort of very tactile experience for the singers as we hit tuning forks, allow them to resonate, use boxes to kind of project sort of multitonal or polytonal type atmospheres around what could be maybe a visual representation of a giant iceberg cracking. We'll see. She's just sent me the final draft and I'm very excited about it, but it was a slight from her previous draft. So we're very excited to hear what that's going to be like.
Yeah, I mean, it's always wonderful to have a younger artist involved in BackStage. So Audrey's work kind of is part of that vision of BackStage. But we also have the amazing Angel Grinder doing a little set to start your show. So your set's going to be the larger part of the evening, but Angel Grinder, who's a young kind of set of musicians, mainly from the con, I believe, who have come together to create their own kind of noise band. And I'm not sure what they're going to do, but they've been talking about shopping trolleys and
I love
industrial fans and yeah. So I think it's going to be very, very cool kind of start to the evening. I'm really looking forward to that too.
I'm very
Now, Anna, of course, like we've known each other for such a long time. We've worked together on numerous projects, and I know you are like a real superstar singer here in Australia and probably overseas too, I expect. Um,
still more of a
and I'm
superstar.
kind of wondering, like, how has it been a bit different for you to be curating this show for Backstage in comparison to what you normally would do as a singer?
It has been different because it's been a slightly different artistic process that, as I said, based on this sort of visual guide, to actually sort of generate artistic ideas or musical ideas that complement that, because I really wanted to feature this book and some of the imagery in it. And I discovered this in lockdown, and it just shed very a slightly different perspective on the way that we generate our artistic ideas, particularly when you are incapable of really putting out there in those
Yeah,
dark times
yeah,
where we were had the opportunity to explore that. So it was a very it was a slightly reversed process of, okay, I'm very moved by these images and how can I represent that in sound? And I have reached a point in my career where I'm trying to explore all the things that I haven't explored yet.
yeah.
And there's more to explore. Funnily enough, in my study, then I'm going back to classical repertoire that I haven't touched in 20 years. And that's a whole nother level of exploration. And I'm absolutely loving this. But when it comes to contemporary music, we think that we've kind of seen and heard it all. We're very good at kind of analyzing or representing kind of graphic scores. So when something is reduced down to just kind of a very specific image, it's not so different from, say, like Kathy Barbarian and creating a piece on a comic strip in that way. But it's up for interpretation, and we all have different ways of interpreting visual images. But it resonated with me. That was the thing. So then I made that connection to, okay, what are the instruments and those individuals that I would really like to work with again? Laura is extremely busy. Satsuki is very busy. All these individuals are very busy. However, it was a process of planning to get these lovely ladies all together and really facilitate an opportunity for them to explore their own artistic tendencies and see what comes out of the combined experience. I suppose it's pacing it as well, kind of understanding how you can find the very specific nuance of something, and sometimes that's not revealed until quite late in the piece. We are going a really lovely sort of workshop with all the artists in a week and a half's time, and it's going to be great to have everyone in the room again and just kind of explore the ideas and understand kind of the balance between what is the visual element and also that sort of oral aspect, finding kind of the balance between the two. There will be some images, however, it's our responsibility to interpret what's physically on the page and create that oral image for the listener.
Mm. And is this something that you've done before, like bringing together musicians to create new work and kind of imagining how you're going to present the whole of a show, like including visual elements and the kind of practical stuff of organizing rehearsals and all that kind of stuff?
I have organised, early music programs and
Right.
contemporary programs. Never been so extensively complicated, I suppose. It has never had so many production elements. And I can understand when you've got operas that you could say, yes, there is the music component, and then there's the staging component, there's the dramatic component, then you have the set design, and you have production design, and you have all these people. And, well, with Backstage, you guys are doing it on a very specific level. And I think it's just what you achieve, because you sort of facilitate these opportunities, and I'm thoroughly loving the experience. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's very budget, but I think there's something quite focusing about being on a tight budget. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
well,
No,
I've
it's
really loved working with you, Anna. Yeah. Is there anything else that you'd like to tell people about?
Please come along. We
Yeah.
are delighted new works with you. It's a one event only performance, so please grab your tickets now. There's a limited capacity, and I wouldn't want you to miss out. So please join us on Friday the 14th of June at 7:30 at Creative Woodburn Creatives. Yes,
In Redfern? Yeah.
yes, right. Forward to seeing you there.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks heaps, Anna. We'll chat soon. Okay.